In terms of costume, darker clothing is used in the horror clip, which carries connotations of fear and darkness or evil, which are typically used in horror movies. Whereas in the interview, the two girls are wearing lighter colour clothing, contrasting to the previously darker scene to suggest a more relaxed and lighter atmosphere. Lauren, as the host, also addresses the audience and the camera directly with a direct mode of address, which is conventional with a chat show, as the host tries to establish a relationship with the audience, or they are not necessarily watching live in the room.
We use the diegetic sound of the audience in the room clapping, cheering, and laughing in a situation comedy or chat show audience style, as it was appropriate to the context of the narrative, creating an authentic chat show feel to the preliminary. The diegetic sound of the cheering provides audio cues to the audience at home watching whether to laugh or not, while providing a sense of solidarity within the comedy if the person was watching along alone at home. The use of the diegetic sound here is found often in this type of media text, so we incorporated this convention into our own. We use the non-diegetic sound of the smooth jazz music to accompany the introduction and fade out the chat show clip, as it is a convention of chat shows to have some sort of introduction or jingle to begin a conversation after or before a commercial break, so we use this in our own work as we wanted to give the task a more authentic feel. We researched different chat shows such as Jimmy Fallon, Ellen and Alan Carr to gain an idea of what type of music they use in their television shows and incorporated the similar non-diegetic music into our own piece.
We use different types of shots to keep the narrative interesting while keeping in mind the 180-degree rule and shot reverse shot. We used two cameras that were still on tripods to record the interview sequence. We had them still on tripods, filming medium shots of the characters as it is conventional with a chat show to not deviate too much from certain shots. Whereas we used different types of shots in our horror sequence. We used a high-angle long shot when Naylor runs down the corridor to make her appear smaller and more vulnerable compared to Hubert, who is seen at a low angle after we pan quickly to reveal his face, which creates the idea that he's one with power and control. These types of binary opposites are conventionally seen in horror movies. We used one camera off the tripod when filming the horror sequence, as it created a more natural and raw feeling as the camera moved in a more human way, rather than being stationary like in a chat show. This type of handheld filming is used conventionally in horror.
In editing, we used a dark filter on the horror sequence, making it look darker and more ominous, which is conventional for a horror movie. We also cut from one camera to another where appropriate in the text, which puts more emphasis on what each character says as they exchange turns in the conversation, which is a convention of chat shows which this preliminary task is based on. We included match on action as Naylor runs around the corner in the horror sequence and where she sits down in the chair, as we will need to understand this technique when we come to our final piece in our RAS coursework. We maintain the 180-degree rule in the chat show with both of the cameras so it would not confuse the audience and so they'd understand who each character is talking to as they exchange eye contact. We use transitions of fading in and fading out in the horror clip as two characters watch along with the audience to create a smoother transition into the other clip, introducing it and bringing it back to the audience in the chat show. The pacing of the editing in the horror movie sequence is much faster than the interview, as the faster paced editing in the clip goes along and creates tension for the audience, which is seen often in horror movies, whereas it's seen commonly for slower cutting in an interview to create a more relaxed environment.